I want to tell you a story.
It's official, old buddy. Well, it has been.
What are you talking about, man? You're Rick Dalton. Don't you forget it.
Here I come.
Smooth leave.
You're goddamn right.
Once upon a time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's ninth film sees the director travel back in time to 1969 Los Angeles. With the backdrop of a changing society and a new generation eager to write their own chapter, Quentin's story settles into the lives of two friends who are at a professional and personal crossroads. Leonardo DiCaprio stars as Rick Dalton, the middle-aged TV actor who hasn't been able to make his big break in the movies. Brad Pitt plays Cliff Booth, his stuntman and best friend. Rick owns a luxurious home in Hollywood who just happens to be neighbors with the fictional Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate. As the movie opens, we are greeted by Marvin Schwartz, played by Al Pacino, a mogul who is a big fan of Rick's work and an opportunist looking to lure him into the next arc of his career, starring in spaghetti westerns. Reluctant to agree, Rick is on the fast track to prove his critics, Father Time, and himself wrong, and recapture some of his old glory. Quentin has spun quite a web here, working with a stellar cast and intricate narrative. Story-wise, the film starts off as a slow burn. There isn't an introduction as much as a window opening, allowing us to eavesdrop on the lives of Rick and Cliff. The plot eventually reveals itself, and with the introduction of the Manson family, the clock starts ticking to the inevitable conclusion. Leonardo gives us some of his best work to date as Rick. A much more complex character as the story unfolds. DiCaprio shines here. Attempting to come off cool and under control, the glass starts to crack as we see the self-doubt and worry begin to consume Rick. An exceptional extended piece of the film contains the full day of filming his new movie. Rick shows up hungover, and we were wondering if he will be able to make it past the makeup chair. Once ready to be called, he starts up a conversation with a co-star, and the pair engage in a spirited life debate, letting Rick know he needs to be on his game here, but breaking down at the same time with each page of the book he's reading. Ready to start filming, Rick forgets a few lines and brings us to what I feel is the most pivotal scene for his character. Alone, in his trailer, Rick takes stock and aim at his life, ready to make the next scene his best work yet, but also ready to end it all as the self-doubt consumes him. This moment is a shining example of an actor on top of his game. We cut back on set where Rick passes his personal test with flying colors, and from here on out we are not only invested in Rick, but rooting for him as well. Brad Pitt's Cliff is a much more understated character. Happy to play second fiddle and shrouded in mystery, we aren't sure where his allegiance to Rick is as the movie opens. Thankfully, Brad is given plenty to work with here. He fights Bruce Lee, fixes Rick's home, engages in hallucinogenic substances, and picks up hitchhikers, all the while being the rock at the center of the friendship between the two. Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate, on the cusp of a real-life tragedy that ended in violence. We are given a whimsical performance as Sharon enters the Hollywood nightlife and buys a ticket to her most recent movie. A supportive role, but armed with the knowledge that her true story is approaching, Margot does exceptional work here. Her on-screen moments are a nice contrast to Rick and Cliff's soul-searching. There are many other familiar faces throughout the film who pop up as fictional and original players. Kurt Russell, Bruce Dern, Dakota Fanning, Luke Perry, Lena Dunham, Michael Madsen, Daniel Harris, and the dazzling Zoe Bell, just to name a few. Each help to color this world as they all bring the Tarantino-verse together. Director of photography Robert Richardson returns here, brilliantly capturing the style, colors, and mood of the late 60s. A Quentin regular, having worked on The Hateful Eight, Django Unchained, and Glorious Bastards, and both Kill Bill films, Robert is once again in lockstep with his director. As with most Tarantino films, the soundtrack adds another layer to the story, helping to paint each scene with its appropriate classification. It's music overload here, and the classics are blasting through the car stereo at a rampant pace. Never one to leave a stone unturned, Quentin Tarantino has handcrafted one of his best works yet. The movie within a TV show, within a movie narrative plays to one of Quentin's core strengths, and that's brandishing and recreating the films he loves. Here he holds nothing back as every detail of Rick's career is shown. The countless hours Quentin spent filling the backstory of the character is in full display. There is a moment in this film where Cliff visits the Spawn Ranch, the real-life dwelling for the Manson crew. The tension is dripping off the screen here. If you ever wanted to see a Tarantino horror movie, you get one during these moments. It's as vibrant as anything the director has ever done in his career. As I watched the movie, I was reminded of two Paul Thomas Anderson films, Boogie Nights and Inherent Vice. And while each film stands entirely on their own, I appreciate seeing masterful storytellers on top of their game. Quentin changes gears for the ending, once again taking artistic license with famous events. His decision-making is a true fantasy ending for anyone who lived through the Manson murders. The Manson arc is sprinkled throughout the film, but only as a backdrop until the climax. This could be Quentin's funniest movie yet, and also his least violent overall. The ending does make up for anyone expecting his trademark violence. Played out as almost a retelling of Death Proof on steroids, it's a shocking, fitting, and whimsical way to wrap up the story. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood takes its time getting on with things. It's a long movie, but once we are accustomed to our surroundings, I found myself all in. The cast is as enjoyable as you can find, and the great care and attention to detail is all over each scene. Quentin swears he has just one more movie left. With number 9 down, it would be a shame to see a master walk away from his craft still creating at his highest level. 2 thumbs up, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Hey, Randy.
Cliff. So you still with Rick, huh?
Still here.
You in there?
Yeah, just knock.